Good morning, Lake Elsinore. This is Lyselle DeGray with the Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watersheds Authority, and we are out at beautiful Lake Elsinore. I am actually here this morning with two of our water scientists, Jeremy and John from AMIC Foster Wheeler, and they work with LEJWA, or the Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watersheds Authority. There's John over there, and we are about to embark on a really great observation here with these scientists where we're going to get to do water quality testing with them. If you're just joining us, we're live for the first time here on Facebook. We are with LEJWA. We're here out at the beautiful lake at Lake Elsinore. We're on a boat. We just left the La Laguna boat ramp here in Lake Elsinore. There's a view of the lake. If you're joining us right now and you know someone that cares about water quality, oh, hey, there's John and Jeremy.
Hey,
give us a wave. They're our water scientists here. If you know someone that is concerned about the water quality at Lake Elsinore, have them tune in and share this feed with your friends, and feel free to comment with us, and we can hopefully ask these scientists some questions that you might be interested in and have them answer it live on the air. If you're just joining us right now, I'm Lyselle DeGray with the Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watersheds Authority, and we're out at beautiful Lake Elsinore. Being that this is a natural lake, it does face many challenges. We're in a drought right now. There are low levels of dissolved oxygen, an increase of algae blooms right now, and this lake historically has been plagued with many challenges. And one of the things that LEJWA does is aim to improve water quality out at the lake, and that's one of the reasons we're out here on the boat with Jeremy and John, our water scientists, and they're about to conduct some water quality testing where they're going to take some samples straight from the lake, and we're going to get to do this process with them. All right, are you guys ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. So explain to us, what's the first thing that you do when you're going to conduct the water quality tests?
So yeah, we just pulled up to our site a few minutes ago, and the first thing we're going to do is actually get a depth to figure out how deep it is, and from that, there's basically two different things that we're going to be doing from that. One is we're going to be taking something that's called the water quality profile, which is essentially looking at things such as pH, dissolved oxygen, conductivity, temperature, all throughout the water column. So we take readings every 1 meter of the water column, just to get an idea on how the lake's doing from top to bottom. And then the other type of sample that we take is we're actually going to take water samples themselves, and we'll send them into a laboratory to get analyzed for things such as nutrients, ammonia, total dissolved solids, and chlorophyll to get an idea of what the algae is doing. So I think Jeremy's got our depth here.
We've got a water depth here about 2.9 meters, which is about 9 feet or so.
Okay. Okay, and we're not at the very center of the lake, if you can get an idea. There's the boat launch over there, La Laguna, and then that's the middle of the lake right over there. But we are near the center. Not sure if we're right in the middle, but we're a ways out from the dock. Can you tell me a little bit about the remote sensing satellite imagery that you use in your testing?
Yeah, one of the other things that we do in association with our actual in-lake sampling is that we've linked up with a company that uses Landsat satellite imagery to estimate chlorophyll levels. So every 8 days there's a satellite that passes over that takes a picture of this area, takes a picture of this lake as well as Canyon Lake. And
wow.
Then this contractor that we've got takes that image, and through various computer analyses that it does, it can take the wavelength images from that image and then estimate the amount of chlorophyll lake-wide. So not just in one spot, but you can look, I think there's actually about 12,000 different data points that are generated with each image. And each one of those data points gives you a chlorophyll concentration.
Wow.
So it's a really good way to kind of validate what we're finding here in the lake as well, and maybe potentially the future of lake sampling.
Okay, and why do chlorophyll samples matter?
So chlorophyll is an estimation of algal density. So the higher the chlorophyll level, the higher the algae is. Because algae, just like any other plant, goes through photosynthesis and uses chlorophyll to do that. So if we're able to estimate the amount of chlorophyll in the water, we can tell how dense the algae is.
Okay, very interesting. Okay.
So the next measurement we're going to make here is it's called a Secchi disc.
Okay.
It's used just as a visual method to see how turbid the water is, or cloudy, or how hard it is to see through the water column. And it's related to the ability of light to pass through.
Okay.
So we're going to drop it in. Given the condition out here in the lake, it's going to disappear pretty quickly. So.
Oh wow.
Go down.
We can see
and
it.
You can see it, and it's gone.
There's gone.
And it's
yeah.
right about 11 inches, 10 inches, gone. So then,
okay.
so we record that on our data sheet.
And so what does that tell us?
That essentially, it's kind of another way to get at the algal density. The faster it disappears, the more turbid the water is, and it generally means that there's just more algae in the water, so it's blocking the view of the Secchi disk.
Okay, and you jot that down in your
so we have
in your notes?
Yep. So we've got a full data sheet here of everything we're collecting. So yeah, the next thing we're going to do, as I explained earlier, is we're going to take some water quality profile readings of various water quality parameters, such as pH, dissolved oxygen, temperature, and conductivity.
Okay.
We're going to do that every meter of the water column.
Oh wow, okay. About how long does this take?
This process here, it doesn't take that long, just a few minutes.
Okay.
It's pretty quick. There's a
Alright.
couple probes that are tied together here.
Okay.
We'll do one right at the surface. So we'll watch our meters and make sure they're levelized.
Okay, go ahead.
So you've got your meters
Yeah.
there.
So we've got a temperature of 28.9, DO of 9.0, conductivity of 5,817, and a pH of 9.07.
Okay. And that was right at the surface.
It's right at the
Okay.
surface. So then we go down. We have the pre-marked meters. So we've got it right there.
Oh, okay, I see. The tape that's wrapped around the core,
Yeah,
that's
just a
where you're marking
quick reference.
it. Okay, I
Right.
can see that right there.
And you'll see how these parameters change as we go down through the water column.
Okay, interesting.
Particularly DO, dissolved
Okay.
oxygen.
Dissolved oxygen.
Yep.
Which
20.
our levels are low right now, correct?
It depends where you are in the water column, as you'll see. So up at the surface, we measured 9, which is pretty high.
Okay.
It's a good reading. Once you go down in the water column, you'll start to see that gets lower and lower.
Okay.
Pretty dramatically. So here we're 1 meter down. We have 27.5 degrees Celsius. Our DO dropped to 0.5, and then our conductivity is still 58.24, and pH is 8.96.
You know, dissolved oxygen levels, that really plays a part in the ecology of the lake, correct? In the
Correct.
fish,
Yeah, particularly the fish. Fish cannot handle low dissolved oxygen for very long.
Well, and last year Lake Elsinore did face a fish kill, and as a result of that, one of the things that the city worked on doing to proactively prepare for the fish kill was create the Lake Watch campaign, and that's something that we're going to be doing again. We're launching it with knowing that the dissolved oxygen levels are very low right now, and there could be a potential for another fish kill. We're working on launching that campaign once again to get the community involved and let them know that this could potentially happen again, and how we might be able to use their help to clean up and just be aware of what's going on here at the lake.
What do we
Okay,
have?
so our next one's at 27.4 degrees. DO is 0.3. Conductivity is 5,810. And pH is 8.95.
Next one is at 3 meters, so this will be the last one. It'll be right at the bottom.
The temperature here is 27.1.
We've got someone enjoying the lake. Yeah. It's a beautiful day here at Lake Elsinore.
DO is 0.2. Conductivity is 5,826. And pH is 8.93. That's it.
That was the reading that was right at the bottom.
Okay.
And as you can see, we had a reading of 9 right at the top, so pretty good dissolved oxygen up, but then you go down 1 meter and it drops from 9 down to 0.5.
Wow.
So there's some thermal and some dissolved oxygen stratification going on in the water.
Wonderful. Okay, if you're just joining us right now, I'm Lyselle DeGrave with the Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watersheds Authority, or LEJWA. We work on improving water quality here at Lake Elsinore, also in Canyon Lake and the watersheds around us. We are out at beautiful Lake Elsinore this morning with 2 of our water scientists, Jeremy and John, and we're conducting some water quality testing.
Hey there.
Hey John, hey Jeremy. This is something that LEJWA does on a normal basis to collect historical data and evaluate what's going on here with regards to water quality at Lake Elsinore. Okay, we just conducted some initial steps in the water quality testing process, and so what are we going to be doing next?
So the next thing we're going to do is one of the things that's really important about this lake is the ecology, because there's a very important interaction between the ecology of the lake and the water quality parameters of the lake. So what we're going to be doing is collecting a plankton sample.
Okay.
And so in this net, this is a plankton net. We're at the bottom. bottom and then raise it through the water column. And in that net, we'll be able to capture all of the phytoplankton and all of the zooplankton, which are essentially, tiny little water fleas and little microscopic organisms. Because we want to get an idea of what types of zooplankton are here in the lake. And that's important because zooplankton actually eat phytoplankton. And so we want to get an idea of what types of zooplankton are here, because some are better than others at eating it, and some are maybe more sensitive to low dissolved oxygen or higher conductivity. So by knowing what types of zooplankton are here, we get an idea of, well, maybe there's an algae bloom because we have lower levels of a certain type of zooplankton. The populations have withdrawn or have gone away because of whatever dissolved oxygen or conductivity or temperature. And so yeah, by doing this, we'll take it back to our lab, we'll stick it under the microscope, we'll be able to give you an idea of what types of zooplankton are living here in the lake.
Bring it up.
Okay.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
You can see all the phytoplankton, it's really green, all the phytoplankton.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You guys see
Yeah.
that right in
in here.
there?
So we're going to clean this up and condense this down.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll just put a cap on that jar and take it back to the lab.
Okay, wonderful. If you're just joining us, I am here with the Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watersheds Authority, or LEJWA, and I'm here with a couple of our water scientists from AMET, Foster, Wheeler, and they come out here on behalf of LEJWA to do water quality testing. And what we just did was we lowered, what do you call that basket or that device?
That's a plankton net.
Okay, they just lowered the plankton net and captured some of the zooplankton.
Zooplankton and
okay.
phytoplankton.
You have to correct me if I'm wrong.
Phytoplankton, algae. Same
Okay.
thing.
And they are trying to collect a sample right now.
Yes, we want to condense it down so we don't have too much water and we have more of the algae. That's what this process is for. So,
Yeah, take a look inside that jar, you'll get a pretty good idea of what we're looking at.
Okay. Oh, I'm excited to see what's in there. Ooh. Okay, hold on. I'm going to try to get this out my shadow. Okay, so it looks pretty green.
very green.
Green and kind of mucky. Don't drink that, right?
No, it's not a kale smoothie. No.
No.
Okay.
No. This is
No, that's very, very concentrated algae. That's obviously been concentrated from the big net down to a really small volume.
Okay.
And then inside of that as well is not only the algae or phytoplankton, but also the zooplankton, which are the little shrimps and the little copepods and the little daphnid water fleas and so forth that go around and eat the phytoplankton.
Okay. And so that gets sent to a lab?
That's actually, we
tested?
do that actually in-house. We have
okay.
a freshwater taxonomist back at the office who will go through that sample, sort through it, and pick out all the animals and identify them, and we can find out what's living here in the lake as far as plankton community goes.
Okay, very interesting.
Yep.
All right, so what's next?
So yeah, the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and collect our actual water sample.
Okay.
And this is, let me get my gloves on here.
As long as I don't fall over the boat. We're on a very small boat here if you're just joining us. We're at Lake Elsinore here in beautiful sunny Southern California. I think it was about 90 degrees when I got out here on the lake, so not too hot, but the sun is coming out and it's getting warm out here. It's getting warm out here. It's a great day to collect water quality samples, and that's why we're out here with two of our scientists, Jeremy and John from AMET Foster Wheeler, and they work with the Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watersheds Authority to collect water samples. This is something that the Water Authority, or LEJWA, does on a regular basis to aim at improving water quality here at the lake. As you may know, the Lake Elsinore is a freshwater natural lake here in Southern California, so it does face many challenges, especially with the drought. Algae levels, the ecology of the lake is at risk right now, and the city is just about ready to launch their Lake Watch campaign, which is a campaign to proactively engage in the community and get them aware of what's going on with the quality of the water here and how they can help. And it could mean a potential for fish kill, and we want to have the community on board so that they're ready to help if needed to clean that up and keep the quality of the water here beautiful so that people can enjoy it, as it is a recreational lake here in Southern California. And we have seen several people out here on sea-doos and boats and fishing, and they are enjoying this lake. Okay, it looks like John's ready for us.
Yeah, and just in case you're wondering, I'm wearing gloves not to protect myself. the water won't be harmful if I get it on my skin or anything, but I'm doing it essentially just to not contaminate the sample. We want to get the most true, accurate sample that we're gonna possible. So that's why I'm wearing the gloves.
Okay.
But yeah, what we're going to do, we have what's called a peristaltic pump, which is essentially a way to pump water from whatever depth we want to get, and we're going to be taking what's called a depth integrated sample.
Okay.
And essentially what that is it's a composite of the entire water column. So we'll lower a tube down to the bottom, start our pump, and then slowly raise that tube through the water column, and it'll be collecting water as it comes up through the water column into our bucket here.
Okay.
And then we will be pouring the water that we've got from our bucket into our test jars. And that's where we're going to be sending off to the lab. So
okay.
Let me go ahead and get that started. So we measured it earlier, it was about 2.9 or just about 3 feet. So you can see here's our sampler. It's weighted in so we know when we get close to the bottom. Lower this down just within the bottom, not touching the bottom because we don't want to suck up any of the mud that's on the bottom.
Okay.
So
you have to excuse me, we are on a very tiny boat, so I'm going to do my best to show you guys what we're doing today, what's going on.
Okay, so there's about 3 meters or so, and then I'll just turn this guy on.
Okay.
And
so we're going to see the water coming through there.
Yeah, within a minute here, you'll start to see the water coming up the pipe.
Okay.
And start to go down the hose and dump. There it goes right there.
Oh, okay.
The water coming in. And pretty
there
soon
it
it'll
is.
dump into the bucket. And I'm just going to slowly raise this through the water column as the pump's going.
Okay.
To collect our water column composite sample. Sometimes it takes a minute to kind of wind through the hose, but it'll eventually get its way into the bucket.
Oh yeah, I can see that. And we're just waiting for it to make its way into the bucket.
Here it comes. So there you go. There's the start of our water sample. So
there we go. We got it.
You see it pumping out into the bucket there.
Wow. Now water looks clear. Really clear.
So we'll put that in there, and then like I said, we're going to slowly raise this up through the water column, and it's going to be collecting the sample all the way through the water column. So that way we're not just collecting water directly from the bottom, or just not all from the top, but we're getting the entire water column in one sample.
Okay. Here it comes. So about how long does this process take?
It can take anywhere, depending on the depth, anywhere from 5 minutes up to maybe 10 minutes or so.
Okay.
Yep.
If you're just joining us, this is LaSalle DeGray with the Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watersheds Authority. You may know us as LEJWA. We're out here on beautiful Lake Elsinore conducting water quality samples. This is something that LEJWA does on a regular basis to work on improving water quality here at the lake. And we're here with 2 of our scientists. They really are water experts. And Jeremy and John, and we're out here collecting some water quality samples. Right now, as you can see, we've got the hose deep down in the water. The water's coming through the hose and into the bucket. And I am just shocked at how clear that water is. Okay. If you're joining us right now, feel free to share this post with anyone that you think might be on Facebook and is interested in the water quality here at Lake Elsinore. Feel free to like us, share us, give us a thumbs up. We want to hear about what you think. If you want to send us a question, we'd be happy to try and answer that for you. Okay.
So I'll maybe give you a quick kind of rundown on some of the things we're sampling for.
Okay.
Once we get this collected in the bucket, we send it off to the laboratory, and there's essentially the reason that we're out here is for nutrients. That's the main focus. So we're sampling things such as total phosphorus, total nitrogen, ammonia, nitrate, nitrite, orthophosphate, total dissolved solids, sulfides. What else do I mean? I think that's the bulk of it, yeah. And so, the reason that we're sampling to that is because nutrients are what algae feed upon. So the more nutrients that are in the water column, the more likely you are to have an algae bloom, because the algae feeds upon those nutrients, and then you get a proliferation of them. So we want to be able to make sure we're out here on a monthly basis to get out and take these samples, and just kind of keep an eye on the nutrients levels to maybe predict, well, you may be headed towards a algae bloom. or the nutrients are low and everything looks good. So we're just trying to keep an eye on that over time and get a nice trend.
Okay. Wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about what does an aquatic scientist do? So just curious, as we're pulling the water out here, some of our viewers might be interested in wondering a little bit more about what a career in that industry, entails.
Yeah, we kind of have a little bit of different focus, Jeremy and I.
Right.
So.
We're actually in two different groups. We work closely together a lot, but I work in stormwater, so I work in stormwater runoff and surface water quality and that sort of world. And that can run a whole gamut of, being out late at night, collecting samples, composite samples, similar to this, but in a different manner during a storm event, all the way to helping out with lake impairment and stuff in situations like this. And then there's the aquatic sciences group, and they focus a little bit more on the marine side. They do dredge characterization for ports and harbors when they're getting dredged, with sediment characterization, that sort of thing. And then John here, he leads up a stream bioassessment team within our group, and he can tell you more about that. It's probably the most interesting of all these topics
Okay,
we're talking
yeah,
about.
John, we want to hear about it. What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm more of a biologist, so I have water quality with a biology focus. My main area of focus is stream bioassessment. So what we do is we go out and collect aquatic insects, and we look at the plant communities that live in streams throughout Southern California. And based upon the types of insects and the types of communities that live there and the types of plants that surround the creek, we can get a good idea of what the water quality is like, because certain bugs are a little more sensitive to pollutants, some are a little bit less, or maybe more tolerant of pollutants. So depending on what type of community you actually find in these streams when you collect them, you can get a pretty good idea of what the water quality and the habitat quality is like. So we do that for a lot of permit compliance programs.
Okay. Oh, very interesting.
Okay, we're getting close.
If you're just joining us, we're here at Lake Elsinore. We're conducting some water quality tests with the Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watersheds Authority, or LEJWA, and this is something that they do on a regular basis to help maintain water quality here at the lake.
So yeah, just about finished up.
Are you guys familiar with the aeration system that's here at the lake?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so a number of years back, an aeration system was installed in the lake. In fact, when we were out here earlier this morning taking some other readings, you can actually see the aeration, and you might be able to do that if it's still running after we're done.
Okay.
Over there, I can actually see it aerating right over there. It's kind of hard to see probably on the camera, but there's an aeration system. So there's a bunch of air lines that run on the bottom of the lake here. And what that's supposed to do is it comes on essentially from about 6 in the morning till about 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And what it does is it's not meant to actually oxygenate the water, but what it's meant to do is to circulate the water so that the low dissolved oxygen water that's on the bottom actually gets circulated to the top, and you just get more of a mixing action, which helps to increase water quality in the entirety of the lake. So there's a very large array of airlines all across the bottom of Lake Elsinore. It's a lot of people don't even know about, but it's one of the methods that was installed a while back to help by LEJWA to help increase the water quality in the lake.
Okay. If you're joining us right now, this is LaSalle DeGrave with the Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watersheds Authority, and we're out at Lake Elsinore right now with two of our water scientists. We're out at the lake just off of the La Laguna Boat Ramp and Resort, and we are conducting some water quality testing this morning. This is something that's done on a regular basis to try to improve and maintain water quality here at the lake.
There are a number of other things that have been done by the city of Lake Elsinore and LEJWA and SAPA, for example, that are used to help improve the water quality of the lake. Have been done, over the last decade or so. There's been carp removal programs, because carp is actually a type of a fish here that lives in the lake that actually will root along the bottom of the lake and stir up the sediment. And there's a lot of nutrients in the sediment, and that's actually, we're thinking, is maybe one of the main sources of nutrients in the lake. It's just within the lake itself, the sediment's being resuspended into the water column, which then become accessible to the algae. So if you've got a lot of carp actually in the bottom, kind of stirring up the bottom, that releases phosphorus into the water column, which then can cause an algae bloom. So I think it was back in the years from 2005 to 2008. 2005 to 2008, they had a carp eradication program, and I think they removed anywhere from, I think it was 70 to 80% of the carp from the lake to help increase water quality. A couple other things they've done, I know that they've started not a recycled water, recycled water into the lake.
With Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District, yes.
Yes, EBMWD. And so they brought the levels of the lake up and to increase water quality. So they're pumping in clean water into the lake to help keep the water quality up as well.
And what about the fish stocking that the city is recently?
So yeah, the fish stocking is actually fairly interesting to me as a biologist, because the reason, they do it for a couple of reasons. One is for people to come out and fish on the lake, obviously to get the recreational aspect of it, but also, in fact, for me anyway, more importantly, is there's a whole, and I kind of explained this a little bit earlier, a whole biological interaction that goes on here at the lake, because you have the phytoplankton, which are at the base of the food chain, the algae essentially. Then you've got your zooplankton, which eat the phytoplankton. And then there's a fish in the lake that's called the threadfin shad. It's a very small little, some people might even call them minnows, but they're a little bit bigger than that. It's called threadfin shad, and they actually eat the zooplankton. And so what happens a lot of times, if you get an explosion of the shad population, they will decimate the populations of the zooplankton, which are supposed to be feeding on the phytoplankton to keep the algae levels down. But because you have so many shad, they actually reduce the populations of the zooplankton enough, and now the algae, there's nothing around to eat the algae anymore. So you have this bloom of algae. So what the city has done is actually start a stocking program of things such as largemouth bass and striped bass to actually come in and eat the threadfin shad, so reduce the shad population so that the zooplankton populations will go up, and thereby keep the phytoplankton populations down. So there's a really kind of complex biological and ecological interaction that's going on here at the lake to help increase the water quality of the lake.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the next step in the process?
So yeah, we've got our sample here collected. This is our composite sample.
So this goes back. This is what you actually test.
This is what we test, yes. And Jeremy, we've got some pre-cleaned lab supplied bottles here that we're going to
put together before we came out.
I'll let Jeremy take over from here.
Pretty simple stuff, just filling up bottles. We do have some filtration procedures to go through, which we'll possibly show you. But a few bottles to fill up. So we'll dip this clean bottle in here. Get it mostly full, and then I'm going to use it to pour off into these. We can't dip these because they have preservative and acid, or this one has sodium hydroxide, but that would all get flushed out if we were to dip that. Yeah, the boat is rocking, so the bottles are moving, so are we.
You're going to pour that into that bottle.
Pour this into here. Nothing too crazy.
So, from a visual appearance, is there anything that you can predict might be going on with water quality?
Right now?
Yeah. Without taking back the samples, or can you?
Well, we know several facts already, even without looking at the lake, and that is that the total dissolved solids, or essentially the salinity, conductivity of the lake, is rather high, which can definitely have an impact on zooplankton populations, because the zooplankton cannot survive in very high salinity conditions, very high conductivity solutions. So that's another kind of pressure that's on the zooplankton community, which therefore would normally be feeding on the phytoplankton or the algae. So that's one thing right off the bat. I mean, obviously we see that there is a fair amount of algae out here over the last week or so. And just with the low lake levels, the increased concentration of the nutrients, and the high temperatures, all is kind of like it's a breeding ground essentially for algae, because you've got these hot conditions with nutrients, and then you've got low zooplankton populations, which can help to exacerbate the problem with the algae. So, I mean, that's just kind of off the top of my head what I would think. It might be some things.
Okay, let's see. So what's going on over here?
This is a filtration process that we have to field filter, they call it, before it goes to the laboratory. So we actually have 2 steps here in this filter. So 1.2 micron and then a 0.45 that we can put on top. So the lake being as it is with the algae, that will clog up these filters. So you'll see we're going to go through a few of these, and it takes a little while, but it has to be done.
Okay. If you're joining us right now, we are out on Lake Elsinore, beautiful. Whoa, That's what happens on live, right? Okay, we're in beautiful Lake Elsinore with two of our water scientists, John and Jeremy, and we are with the Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watersheds Authority. And one of the things we aim at doing is improving water quality here at the lake, and part of that has to do with regular water quality testing. The Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watersheds Authority, or LEJWA, was put together in the year 2000 in an effort to improve lake quality here in Lake Elsinore and Canyon Lake and the watersheds. This was a response to challenges that were occurring within water quality, and over the past 16 years they've done a really amazing job at improving water quality, and one of the steps that they've done has been to conduct these tests on a regular basis.
Oh.
Ooh, okay, we just got connection. Oh, I think we're back. Your connection is weak. Okay, hopefully we're still live. I'm getting a reading here saying your connection is weak.
We're gonna show it.
We are out in, I'm not surprised, we are out in the middle of Lake Elsinore, which, hey, you maybe you shouldn't be on your cell phone when you're out here. You should be out here enjoying this beautiful lake. But we want to be able to show you guys what we're doing here.
Yep.
Lake Elsinore Facebook fans, thanks for joining us. We're out here on a very tiny boat, as you can see, out in beautiful Lake Elsinore conducting water quality testing.
Yeah. So we were just talking. The filtering process for this orthophosphate sample might take a while because of the amount of algae we have in here today. The filters clog up quite frequently and quickly. So what we're thinking is this is essentially how we collect the sample.
We'll just keep doing this. It'll take probably 20 minutes.
It might take another 20 minutes to get this done.
Yeah, if we want to move on, we can, and you guys can finish this after I leave.
Well, sure. One of the things we definitely wanted to show you guys was how we get an estimation of the algae concentration in there, and that's by looking at the amount of chlorophyll in the water.
Okay.
And so we have another filtering process here, which goes a little bit faster. We've got a filter tower. Got some of our filtering supplies here. I'll show you some of the stuff that we have to do to go about. Can you hand me that fill bottle?
We're back.
Okay.
And looks like we're out at beautiful Lake Elsinore. I have a weak connection, so I apologize if this feed is cutting in and out. We did want to be able to show our Facebook fans how we conduct water quality testing on a regular basis. We're out here, we've got John, he's our water scientist, one of our water scientists, and what are you about to show us, John?
So right now I'm showing you how we collect our chlorophyll sample.
Okay.
And chlorophyll, again, is a measure of how dense the algae is. The more chlorophyll in the water, the more algae is in the water. So algae, just like any other plant, goes through photosynthesis, which uses chlorophyll to do so. So getting an estimation of chlorophyll will get us a good idea on the concentration of algae. So what I'm going to do is, this is the sample that we just collected from our depth integrated sampler. I'm going to be filtering that through a 0.7 micron filter here, which essentially filters all the chlorophyll out of the sample and keeps it on this glass fiber filter. As you can see it there. This guy over the top. This way so it doesn't get dirty. And get my pump out. So this is a little handheld pump system that we use in the field if we ever have to filter stuff in the field, which we quite frequently do. So hook this up.
Is there anything unique to Lake Elsinore that you've discovered that you might find different than other lakes or bodies of water that you do water quality testing on?
Well, I'd say it's a terminal lake, and I think that's one of the major issues that the city is dealing with here. And by terminal, I mean that there's inflow, but there's not much outflow. The only outflow that we would really get is really during El Nino years when there's a lot of rain. During a normal rain year or less than a normal rain year, the water flows into the lake, but it necessarily doesn't flow out. So what happens is that the lake evaporates, the water level goes down, and that just concentrates the nutrients in it. So from that perspective, it's fairly unique, and I can't say I've sampled another lake like that before. So it's just some of the issues that the city's trying to deal with. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take my sample here. So we'll measure out 50 milliliters of sample. Pour that into our filter. And then filter away.
Right, so you just squeeze that and it pumps the water.
Yeah, it creates a vacuum underneath the filter, and then you'll see the water just disappears through the filter.
Oh, wow.
And the filter become more and more green as that algae gets concentrated on there. So that was 50 mils, just went through really fast. But generally, it's that second 50 mils that starts to slow down because the algae starts to be built up on the filter. And you'll see the filter start to get greener and greener.
All right. If you're joining us right now, we are out at... Oh, okay, we're back. We have some connectivity issues out here at the lake. Have a weak signal, but we're trying to do a live feed here, Facebook Live, with our Lake Elsinore Facebook fans. So if you're just joining us, we're out here at the lake conducting some water quality testing with Jeremy and John. They're water scientists, and we just put a water sample into the filter. And
we're filtering for chlorophyll right now. So that was 100 mils that went through, and that's typically enough to get us a good reading on the concentration. So we'll go ahead and take this off, and then you'll really see the contrast between what the filter looked like before and what it looks like now.
Oh, wow.
So
I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but around the very perimeter of the filter, it's got sort of a more white tone, and then in the center there, where he's dropped the water sample through there, it's got more of a greenish yellow tinge to it.
Right. And so what we're going to do now is just pull that off of there,
And
put
that
it in our
becomes
little,
your sample?
and that becomes our sample.
Oh, wow.
So we'll just send that filter into the lab, and they analyze it for chlorophyll.
Okay.
Yep. Get this cap off. There we go.
You guys are going to be out here all day doing this, correct?
Yeah. Well, we're actually, it's interesting. We're doing both morning and afternoon readings for water quality profile.
And why do you do that?
We do that because the morning readings, when there is an algae, a eutrophic lake like Lake Elsinore is, when you have a lot of algae in the water, the algae photosynthesizes, like I was mentioning earlier. Here you go, Jeremy. Like I was mentioning earlier, the algae photosynthesizes. So what that means is during the day, it's actually producing oxygen. That's part of a byproduct of photosynthesis. But during the night, that reverses, and it actually uses oxygen at night. So typically in the morning times is when we experience the lowest dissolved oxygen readings in the lake. And as the day goes on, the sun comes up and the algae starts respiring through photosynthesis, the dissolved oxygen levels will come up. So the reason that we do morning readings and afternoon reading is because morning is typically kind of a worst case scenario. And then we'll come back later in the afternoon and we'll get higher dissolved oxygen readings in the afternoon. So we don't want to just present kind of a false perspective, because if we only did readings in the morning, we would only see low dissolved oxygen, and that would kind of skew our results a little bit. So we want to be able to get kind of a more holistic view of what's going on.
All right, if you're joining us right now, we are out at Lake Elsinore doing a live feed here with a couple of our water quality scientists, Jeremy and John from AMIC Foster Wheeler, and they are doing work on behalf of the Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watersheds Authority, or LEJWA, which really aims at improving water quality here in Lake Elsinore, Canyon Lake, and the watersheds. We are just a little ways away from the La Laguna boat ramp, if you can see it over there. We've been out here for quite some time this morning on a very tiny boat. There's Jeremy right there, and we've got John. He's just cleaning up after we did some testing right now on chlorophyll. Are we gonna? We still got some more to do, or is that the end?
That's pretty much all of our samples right there.
Okay.
So yeah, that's everything we've got as far as sampling goes.
Well, great. It's been great to be out here with you guys. I appreciate you bringing me out here and sharing with me everything that you guys do on a regular basis. I'll tell you what, this is different than my usual work day. I do want to add that testing that's going on out here is primarily for the lake water, for the ecology of the lake, correct?
Correct. The main purpose of this nutrient TMDL, which is going on right now, is to reduce fish kills and increase recreation in the lake. So yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, we just concluded water quality testing with scientists from Lake Elsinore and San Jacinto Watersheds Authority, John and Jeremy. Give us a wave there. We're out at Lake Elsinore, which is a very complex natural lake. Knowing this, the city of Lake Elsinore is getting ready to launch its Lake Watch campaign to proactively prepare to preserve and protect Lake Elsinore. So keep an eye out on the city's website to learn more about what you can do to be involved. And of course, please visit the LEJWA website. It's www.mywatersheds, that's plural, watersheds.com, to learn more about the many projects that LEJWA has invested to improve overall water quality of the lake, of the San Jacinto watershed and Lake Elsinore and Canyon Lake.